Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show, Lemon Live at 5. We're grateful that you are here. And I know that a lot of you are tuned in today because of what happened in Minneapolis, and you are outraged, and you have every reason to be outraged. If you have paid attention at all today to the cover-up that is going on, what looks like a cover-up from the administration, and just how brazen and bold they are with lying about what's in the video, what the woman was doing, and really trying to make this officer seem like a victim rather than the victim who is no longer with us. So thank you for joining us. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, the like button, like and subscribe. It affects the algorithm. More people become aware of our conversation. So we're going to get right into it, everyone. You can let us know where you're streaming from. We appreciate it. We'll shout some of you out. We'll get some of your comments on. We also have our legends who are on today. We'll show the legends. There they are. They're going to be on, and they're going to have some questions. And we're going to see them. So we're glad to have the Lemon Legends on. Thank you, Legends. We'll see you in just a moment. But first, I want to get to our guests as we discuss what's going on in Minneapolis and in Washington, D.C. Dr. Cedric Alexander is here. He is an MS Now law enforcement analyst, a former law enforcement executive, and a former member of President Barack Obama's task force on 21st century policing. He is also an old friend, and I'm grateful that he is here. Friend of the show, Monique Presley is here, a friend as well, is a legal analyst, a political commentator, and trial attorney. And we're so happy that they're both here. Okay, let's get into this. We want a law enforcement expert. We wanted to have you on earlier, Dr. Alexander, but you were busy, obviously. You have a lot to do dealing with all of this stuff. When you look at that video, is there anything in there that warrants this woman losing her life?
Well, first of all, let me say hello to everyone, and thank you, Don, for the invitation to share a little time with you this afternoon. But to your question, the video is troubling. The process in which that vehicle was chased, the process in which that vehicle was shot at, and subsequently having a victim to die as a result of gunfire, there's appearance that there was absolutely no reason and call for this. When I look at this video, Don, and I've been around for a very long time, chiefed a number of agencies across the country, including Minneapolis, I will tell you that their actions at that scene is not based on any current training of policing across this country, municipal policing. There was just no reason to fire up on that vehicle. However, when we look at the video, and I think what outrages most people is the proximity of that vehicle from those officers, from what we can see from the angles of these videos. But in addition to that, I think what's very, very troubling is, was deadly force necessary? And I would answer that question based on what I'm seeing and millions of people across the country are seeing. No. And the other part that is going to be difficult about this really should have an extensive and thorough investigation based on the video footage here and any other forensics evidence that may be present or may be learned about later, so that this shooting will have a sense of legitimacy and make sense to people in the community. But the whole likelihood of that taking place is probably not going to happen. And if it does, it's probably not going to be meaningful, because from the highest points of government, from the White House to the Department of Homeland Security, they have already, moments after this shooting, decided that they were going to defend this shooting, even without anyone formally looking into this entire piece. And even if it is investigated from a shooting perspective, officer involved shooting perspective, what is the likelihood of people going to believe that it's going to have any legitimacy whatsoever? This action should have never taken place. You're looking at what I'm looking at here, and what many other chiefs I've talked to across the country are looking at here, is poor engagement in the community. We're looking at poor training. We're looking at poor supervision. And even after shots were fired, we're looking at sworn officers, federal officers, ICE agents in this case, who did not appear, from all indication, even through some of the video that we hear, did not offer any aid to that victim whatsoever. And today in policing, we do not stand in front of vehicles, we attempt to stop them. If we injure someone, we immediately provide them with some first aid until medical response is on the scene. We have supervisors on the scene, and the temperament is different. And you know, Don, going all the way back to Michael Brown, when we first met back in 2014, and where we come over the last 16 years in policing, municipal policing, local policing, really has worked hard to build these relationships and to have better training and more accountability in public safety. And we're still working at that. But the demonstration of this event that we saw on yesterday just in no way fits into modern policing, but instead it looks as if it is some type of group that's out there that's acting recklessly. And that is a bad reflection on law enforcement across this country. And once these officers are no longer stationed in these cities across America, what's going to be left in those cities are police departments who are going to suffer behind this type of behavior and how people will view them going forward.
Thank you for that, Cedric. I want to play because, you know, the vice president of the United States is saying the exact opposite of what you're saying. He's saying this man had absolute every right to do what he did. As a matter of fact, in some instances, painting him a hero. We'll get to that. But he's saying this officer is going to be okay. It doesn't matter. They're going to take care of him. Watch.
Yeah. Thanks for taking my question. So the head of Minnesota's investigations agency says that the U.S. Attorney's Office has essentially cut off the state investigations agency's access to the investigation. What is the precedent for that, and why shouldn't the Minnesota officials on the ground have access and evidence to work on this investigation?
First of all, I wish the state officials in Minnesota would investigate why you have so many people who are using their vehicles and other means to actually interfere with a legitimate law enforcement operation. The precedent here is very simple. You have a federal law enforcement official engaging in federal law enforcement action. That's a federal issue. That guy is protected by absolute immunity. He was doing his job. The idea that Tim Walz and a bunch of radicals in Minneapolis are going to go after and make this guy's life miserable because he was doing the job that he was asked to do is preposterous.
Monique, you're the legal analyst here. He has absolute immunity.
Well, listen, you know, out of all of the things that have been said, that was the one video that I bothered you with the text about because it so incenses me. You know, Don, I don't know if you know this. Chuck Ramsey, former Chief Ramsey, was a former client of mine when I worked for the DC Office of the Attorney General. So I understand police cases. I understand police misconduct. I understand wrongful death. I understand good practices and bad practices, as Dr. Alexander was just discussing with us. And for a Yale-educated lawyer, because that's what J.D. Vance is, he's not an ignoramus like the current president. He's not an inexperienced, unqualified Christy Nome who has no business being in charge of DHS. He is a former serviceman. He is high school, college, law school educated. He's a Yale lawyer, and he is presenting lawlessness as if it is okay. He knows that after action is required. He knows that investigation is required for an officer-involved shooting, whether it's local, whether it's state, whether it's federal. He knows that that is required by law to happen. Federal guidelines, local guidelines, state, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if the officer is going to get qualified immunity eventually or absolute immunity eventually, which so many of us disagree with, which is why we supported the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. But he's standing there and he is as still a sworn officer of the court, someone with a bar card, I think, saying due process, who cares? Citizen dead, who cares? If he's going to get immunity anyway, then why bother investigating? And he's acting like he doesn't know that there could be violations of state law, even for a federal official. And so to me, this is the biggest view we have of the way this administration views not just this case, but the way that they are untethered to the law, where they feel they have no obligation other than to themselves. And that is my biggest concern. Other than for Renee Good and her family, my biggest concern right now is that this could be any of us. and they will operate with impunity the way the Vice President of the United States did just then.
I have to say, when I listened to that, lady and gentleman, I was outraged that he would stand there and be so brazen as to make that, even if you feel that way and you have a leadership role in this country, there's a way to say things and a way not to. And this is the way not to. There's a way to bring people together and there's a way to divide them. And that's what he's doing, is dividing people. He could have said they have a job to do. And we're sorry for that the woman lost her life. We're investigating it. We don't see even if he said right now, we don't see anything that the officer did wrong, but it must be investigated. Okay, fine. He could say that. But what he stood there and did to me was the worst inhuman behavior that I think that I have seen from this administration, and that is saying a lot. That wasn't the end of what he said, because he also said that this woman, he's saying that this woman, it's her own fault that she is dead. Here it is.
You said earlier that there's a left-wing network to attack, to dox, to assault, and make it impossible for ICE officers to do their job. You told my colleague just now that there's an investigation going on into that network.
Yep.
So if everything that you say is true, how does being part of that network justify being shot?
Well, being part of the network doesn't justify being shot, but ramming an ICE officer with your car, that's what justifies being shot. It's not a good thing, by the way, but when you force somebody to engage in self-defense, it's almost a preposterous question. I'm not saying that funding some of this stuff justifies capital punishment. Nobody would suggest that. The reason this woman is dead is because she tried to ram somebody with her car and that guy acted in self-defense. That is why she lost her life, and that is the tragedy. Now, there may be other violations of the law and other penalties that are associated with those violations of the law. For example, if you are funding violence against our law enforcement officers, I'm not a prosecutor. My guess is that's not the sort of thing that earns capital punishment, but it should sure as hell earn you a few years in prison if you're funding the effort to try to assault our law enforcement officers.
Cedric?
You know, Don, for the last 25 years, number of city, state, and federal agencies, and more frequent city police departments, if you will. I have the responsibility of keeping those men and women safe every day, those that go out to protect, to serve. They have families, they have loved ones, they have been properly trained, they're held to a level of accountability in the service that they provide. And what's important to me is that they go out, they do their jobs, and they're able to return home the way that they left work that morning or that night. But also have a responsibility of protecting the communities that expect for us, police, if you will, to conduct ourselves in a professional manner that provides service to all people equally, regardless of where they're from or what they look like or what their beliefs happen to be. And many of us, like myself, across this country, we take a lot of pride in those positions, those leadership positions as chiefs, etc. When I hear this type of rhetoric coming from a leader in this country who has great influence and who sits in the highest office in the land, and without any accountability whatsoever, that is really troubling, because what you're saying to ICE agents is that go out, do whatever you want to do. We're going to defend it. We're not going to worry about investigating it. And if we do investigate it, we're telling you already, you're going to be immune from any penalty of any sort. And practically, not practically, that is literally what is being said. I've been to a number of officer-involved shootings. Some that were pretty straightforward, that the officers were in the right. Some that were not so clear and created some pause and concern. and even some that should not have ever happened. But in each one of those cases, when I go and I speak to the public, Don, and I've been on your show numerous times over the years, you have
Numerous,
always
plenty, a lot,
numerous,
tons.
right, tons. You have always heard me say and have some sense of balance that this must be investigated by a reputable source, and all the facts must be gathered so that regardless of what we see, it's still some legitimate agency is giving some credibility to the findings of that investigation. But in this case, which is what's so bizarre here, is that even if they are conducting some type of investigation, your leadership in the country has already told you they're going to be immune to any penalty. So the credibility of any report or any investigation is going to be highly questioned. But here again, your eyes see what they see. And even though we were not on that scene, it is from that video, we can gather where was the threat. And that is going to be the question. And there doesn't appear from where I am and from others who have been in profession just as long as I have and who've been in leadership positions, make that same question, beg that same question, where's the threat here? And not only, even if there was a threat, let's just say even if there was a threat.
Let's give them that. I've been waiting for this analysis.
Yeah, even if we give them a threat, their actions after taking, firing those rounds were just despicable. I'm a physician. Let me help. Don't want any help from you. We heard in some of the sound bites. They did nothing, gave the appearance of doing nothing. And I think any reasonably sane person, and I don't care whether you're a Republican, a Democrat, it doesn't matter. What we viewed here was gave an appearance of being very inhumane and not caring about human life after you have entered into a community which you know no one, you have no relationship with, and they're there to carry out a mission. Whatever charge the mission the President of the United States gave them, they go carry out that charge. But you still have to do it in a professional manner that incorporates having community involvement. Even if the community don't believe in what you're doing, you still have a strategy going in as to how you're going to enter those communities, how you're going to approach subjects that you have concerns or interests or you're targeting, whatever the case may have to be. But you can't go in here reckless. And that was a very clear reckless display of what we see of being a real problem.
Cedric and Monique, I want you to stand by because I want to get some more analysis and I want to play something for you because we're talking about what is the justification. I just need to get a word in from our sponsors, and then I want to play a video before too long so that we can discuss it, okay? But first, a word from our sponsors. Support comes from Fatty 15. Now, as I've gotten older, I've learned that healthy aging isn't about trying to look younger. It's about feeling better, sleeping better, having energy, and staying sharp. That's why I pay attention to what actually supports long-term health. Fatty 15 is the first new essential fatty acid discovered in over 90 years. It was discovered by a doctor while working with the U.S. Navy to help aging dolphins live longer, healthier lives. Now, since then, over 100 studies show C15 helps strengthen our cells and slow biological aging at the cellular level. When you don't get enough C15, our cells become fragile and age faster. Fatty 15 helps protect those cells and supports sleep, cognitive health, and natural repair. I've noticed better sleep and steadier energy. Get 15% off at fatty15.com/lemon with the code lemon. Again, you get 15% off at fatty15.com/lemon with the code lemon. This episode of the Don Lemon Show is brought to you by Wild Grain. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for sourdough breads, artisanal pastries, and fresh pastas. Everything bakes in about 25 minutes, which makes it real easy, real food made easy, okay? So what I love is the quality. It's simple ingredients that you can pronounce, slow fermentation, no preservatives, and no shortcuts. Their boxes are fully customizable. You've got variety, you've got gluten-free, you've got vegan, and a new protein box. I love having real sourdough and croissants ready whenever I want them. It's like having an artisan bakery in your freezer. especially during cold weather. Perfect for easy dinners or relaxed weekend brunches. Get 30% off of your first box plus free croissants for life at wildgrain.com/lemon, or you can use the code LEMON. Again, you get 30% off of your first box plus free croissants for life at wildgrain.com/lemon, or use code LEMON. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So here we go. I'm going to play this video. This is an analysis. Andy and Peter, this is by the New York Times, right, Nikki? This analysis.
Yes.
Yep.
It's an analysis of the incident, including the shooting, obviously. Here it is.
On Wednesday, in Minneapolis, a federal agent fatally shot a motorist, 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good. Trump administration officials said these were, quote, defensive shots, fired because the officer was being run over.
And a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over.
But our analysis of bystander footage, filmed from different angles, appears to show the agent was not in the path of the victim's SUV when he fired 3 shots at close range. Here's how events unfolded. Moments before the shooting, the victim's maroon SUV is stopped in the middle of the street. Multiple unmarked federal vehicles are idling nearby. Secretary Noem alleged the motorist, quote, was blocking the officers in. Bystanders are blowing whistles and yelling at federal agents.
Go home to Texas!
Then, federal vehicles start moving toward the maroon SUV, with sirens and lights blaring. A federal agent films the scene on his phone. The driver rolls forward slightly, turning left, then stops and waves for others to go ahead. 2 agents exit this silver pickup and walk toward the vehicle. Moments later, shots are fired. Let's look at the scene again more closely. This is the agent who shoots the driver. He walks around the car filming and disappears from view. Other agents pull up and order the driver to exit her vehicle. One of them grabs at the door handle and reaches inside. The SUV reverses, then turns right, apparently attempting to leave. At the same time, the agent filming crosses toward the left of the vehicle and grabs his gun. He opens fire on the motorist and continues shooting as she drives past. The moment the agent fires, he is standing here, to the left of the SUV, and the wheels are pointing to the right, away from the agent. This appears to conflict with allegations that the SUV was ramming or about to ram the officer. President Trump and others said the federal agent was hit by the SUV, often pointing to another video filmed from a different angle. And it's true that at this moment in this grainy, low-resolution footage, it does look like the agent is being struck by the SUV. But when we synchronize it with the first clip, we can see the agent is not being run over. In fact, his feet are positioned away from the SUV. The SUV crashes into a white car parked down the road. A bystander runs toward the collision. The federal agents on scene do not appear to rush to provide emergency medical care. Eventually, the agent who shot the motorist approaches the vehicle. Seconds later, he turns back around and tells his colleagues to call 911.
Shame! You shot someone! You shot someone!
Agents block several bystanders who attempt to provide medical care, including one who identifies himself as a physician.
I go check a pulse.
No! Back up! Now!
I'm a physician!
I don't care!
At the same time, several agents, including the agent who opened fire, get in their vehicles and drive off, apparently altering the active crime scene.
So there it is. Cedric, I know I only have you for a few minutes. So I'm going to get you to weigh in, and then I'll get Monique. So I want to ask her some more legal questions after you leave. That video seems to show the analysis. They matched it up. What do you think of that?
Well, it's what we all see. And it's simple as that. It's what we all see. But as in any event that involves an officer, there still has to be an investigation, and a very critical in-depth investigation based on this forensics evidence and any other evidence that's out there, including statements, et cetera, et cetera. But this appears very straightforward. But here again, if an investigation is conducted, it has already been stated that nothing is going to come of it. And clearly there appears already to be some blockage from the feds for even to state to even look into this. And that cannot be the standard in which they operate as law enforcement personnel in this country. It just cannot be. And this is what is very heartfelt for me as a law enforcement leader who's leading men and women right now here in South Fulton, Georgia, because I know how they're professionally trained to carry out their duties. And here again, I have a responsibility as I send them out every day and night, that they're able to carry out their duties to protect us and protect themselves and each other. But they also know the responsibility that comes with that badge and that gun, is that we have to conduct ourselves in a professional manner and use our training as the standard. But in this case, we're looking at poor training, poor community intervention, a lack of supervision, and a lack of medical attention after you have just shot and injured someone.
You said something earlier today. You said, and I want to know the answer. You can tell me. If this was a local police officer, what would have happened by now?
They probably would have already been relieved of duty. And based on this footage, depending on what part of the country you're in, what state, and what city, what county, and that of the prosecutor, they probably would be incarcerated tonight, or last night, I should say. And the only thing that you would hear from their leadership is that this is a troubling event and it is going to be investigated. And we ask the community to give us an opportunity to do that, to put some legitimacy to this shooting, even though we know what we're seeing. There still is process. But in this case, what we're hearing is that he's right, even if all of you think he's wrong. And we're going to support that. And that is just not a way to provide leadership for law enforcement that still struggles in this country, based on its own history, for people to feel that they're being able to trust. This is a real setback, Don, and it's really saddening.
Thank you, Cedric Alexander. We appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.
Monique, you sat by quietly, and I can. It's written all over your face. But when you saw, I wonder if that changes anything, or if it helps you to sort of get an understanding of what could and should happen when you look at the analysis from the New York Times there.
No, I think what we talked about last night stands. The thing that I was looking at that I was intrigued by, I was wondering when in the time frame, because I saw somebody doing CPR, and I was just wondering.
Yeah, I saw that. Who was that?
Yeah, and I wondered if that was the 15 minutes later, because it didn't look like an EMT. So because they didn't include it in the analysis, but it's included in the footage. Here's what I want to say, Don, because I've been going back and forth talking to our friend Ben today, and we've done a lot of these cases, and talking to
Ben Crump, you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Tamika Mallory, who's been obviously a social justice advocate on the streets right there in Minnesota, who has probably more experience in what goes on in Minnesota than anybody else alive right now. And I've been involved in a lot of these cases. And what I think often we do in the public is we allow for the demonizing of the victim or the decedent. in this case, Renee Good, but we also feel the need to put angels on them while on earth. And that's not constructive either. That's not helpful, because it can be true that in that moment, Ms. Good was doing something that perhaps she shouldn't have. Civil disobedience is called disobedience because it's against the law, right? So if your car is in the middle of the street and it's not supposed to be there and it's parked sideways and you're doing your legal observing or whatever you're doing from that vantage point, you're breaking the law. You're breaking the law. Are you supposed to die because you did that? Nope. That doesn't justify death. If you get freaked out because officers do some kind of jump out on you and they're grabbing your door and they're telling you to get out of the car, and because of that you reverse and then you go forward, are you supposed to die? Nope. But are you disobeying a lawful command? Maybe. And for some reason, I think we get all or nothing about these things, where we need for those who are victims of crime to be wholly innocent, or we can't get behind it. And a lot of times these cases just don't flesh, they don't flesh out like that. Yeah. And so I think that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different things can be true at the same time. And ultimately we can get to the same result, which is that Jonathan Good should not have been in front of that car, shouldn't have been doing that jump out, shouldn't have been handling traffic without training, and shouldn't have pulled his weapon, because his weapon was out before she started moving the car, and shouldn't have shot. That's the end of the analysis. Now, whatever happened before that, we may never know, because they're covering up all kinds of facts on us. But I just want it to be clear that when they show the car in the middle of the street, when they show vehicles idling, the law enforcement vehicles idling for whatever reason, when we hear them saying, get out of the car, and she's probably freaked out, and that's what her partner says, her wife says, that she was scared. And when the officer's hands were on the handle door trying to get her to come out, and then she attempts to leave, those are facts that we can see. And that never would have happened if ICE hadn't been doing what I said yesterday they shouldn't be, which is handling traffic. If they had been involving local law enforcement, if they had called for backup, if they had not shown their poor training by getting all in front of the car, all of the things that led to this were still their fault. But that doesn't mean that things didn't happen before that set this in motion. And I think we have to comfortably sit with both things, or we're not being any more honest than the executive branch that is attempting to cover everything up.
All right, let's bring the legends in right now. Legends, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to play for you. This is JD Vance again saying that the shooter deserves gratitude. Here it is.
I will say, look, I would appreciate everybody saying a prayer for that agent. Look, in the past 6 months, he has been hit twice by a motor vehicle. One time, the first time, it led to over 30 stitches and very serious injuries to his legs. This is a guy who's actually done a very, very important job for the United States of America. He's been assaulted, he's been attacked, he's been injured because of it. He deserves a debt of gratitude, and I think the media prejudging and talking about this guy as if he's a murderer is one of the most disgraceful things I've ever seen from the American media.
Y'all prejudge this lady as a fucking terrorist. Fuck off. Sorry, Don, that pissed me off. Sorry, that pissed me off.
She was within blocks of her home. No, she was within blocks of her home. She just belonged there more than ICE did. That was her home.
We have somebody that's a legend that's from Minnesota. She got to speak because we need to know what's happening there. Are you there?
Yeah, that's Jen. No, I'm in Chicago.
Are you in Chicago?
Yeah, I'm in Chicago. But I will say that's the second time that happened to that man. Okay.
And usually if it's the second time, if someone has PTSD, which he appears to be intimating that this person has PTSD, usually when that happens, they don't put you back in the same role, which is, I mean, am I wrong about that, Monique?
No, he shouldn't have been on active duty. I mean, and I can't diagnose whether he had PTSD or not, but our vice president is saying it was within 6 months and that it was serious bodily injury due to someone ramming him with a vehicle. So it's not hard to figure out that whether he was physically healthy and able to return or not, that may have triggered his fear-based response, fear or rage or a combination of the two that led him to do something he was not supposed to do. He in addition to the fact that they weren't trained to handle what they were in, it seems like he specifically should not have been on the streets.
Olia,
That means
you
they're
have been
not
dealing with these.
background checking people. They're not vetting people. They're not even looking at people's qualifications at all. That's all that really is telling us.
Olia,
Yes.
you have been out here on the streets dealing with this, or dealing with what happens out on the streets. And I'm wondering,
That's right.
I don't believe that any of your clients have lost their lives, but they've been involved with skirmishes, and perhaps they have, I don't know, but they've been involved with skirmishes with officers. And how does this usually play out? Is there any repercussion?
Yeah, we're dissecting, you know, this case, like what happened, where were her wheels, where is it turned this way? All I want to say is that ICE has been acting with immunity. They've been acting like they have immunity. Their powers are unchecked.
That's right.
And they abuse it all the time. Like,
That's
honestly,
right.
I'm not just saying that because I'm on the show or just to hear myself speak. That's not why I'm on the show, because I want to express and I want to have people listen to me, because this is what's happening. It's like I'm screaming
That's
into the
right.
void all the time. I'm telling you, this is what's happening. This happens all the time. They fabricate, they
right.
lie. People in power allow them to act like this with lawlessness. They cover up for them, and they will
Yes.
continue to lie for them. And people in power keep protecting them. People in power, you know, the people in power I'm talking about are, you know, starting from the top, the president, the vice president, but also the judges, but also everybody. They listen to what they're saying, and they take it as if it's the truth. It's
Okay,
not
so
what ICE
so
is saying is wrong. They fabricate a lot of the things that happened. You know why? They don't have, the CBP does not have body cams. They don't have to wear body cams. Since February, Trump has a policy where CBP officers do not have to wear body cams. ICE also says they don't have to wear body cams because we don't have enough funding. What? There's no funding? How about the big beautiful bill that just gave you so much funding, gave you millions and millions of dollars for just this purpose? You don't have funding to wear cameras so people can see what's going on? That's not why they don't wear cameras. They don't wear cameras because they don't want to see the lawlessness. They don't want to have evidence of this. So the only way is people recording. If this woman was not recorded on cell phone right now, she would be categorized, and we wouldn't even argue. Like, we would argue, but she would just be classified as a domestic terrorist.
Well, the thing
So
is that if you have
so my
someone,
question
hang on one
is-
second, hold on one
so
second.
my-
The thing is that when you have someone like this, whether it's PTSD or whatever it is, you give them therapy. You don't give them a weapon or a gun. You get them help. And look, I think the guy, they're saying that he has serious injuries, so we'll believe them. There are photographs of the serious injury. But since you just mentioned what you said about how CBP has been operating, I want to play this. This is an Afghanistan veteran who talks, Olia, about what you just said. Here it is.
Yeah, they're terrorizing the population. I was just saying, like, one, in Afghanistan, we never wore masks. I went on 4 deployments. The only time we would wear like a face covering is maybe if it was cold and my guys were on a, you know, you were pulling security somewhere, or maybe it was dusty, you wore a shamag or whatever. But we didn't wear masks. Again, this officer is not wearing a mask. He's one of the leaders. That's smart. No one here is going to be going after him. If you're fighting the actual cartels and you're on the border, fine. If you want to protect your identity, totally makes sense. But they're wearing all this gear for no reason. This is coming from the top. They shouldn't have. They should have low vis, bulletproof vests, or they should wear their fucking vests underneath a smock. If you're going to be doing this, ICE should not be running around. None of these guys should be running around in plate carriers against civilians. And they just got this huge budget, so why are they not wearing low vis stuff? You know, it just makes no sense. It's here to intimidate everyone here, and they're trying to get. And then obviously Bovino, I mean, I don't know what he was doing. He took some glamour shots with a trench coat, and they're just trolling people. Yeah, he took it with a trench coat to look like he was some SS officer, literally. I was just like, I'm a history guy. I studied history, European history, World War II, and then as an officer, we studied a lot of history in the military. When I was at Captain Maneuver Career Course, we studied history. I mean, come on, you don't do this. I'll be honest, in Afghanistan, there's a thing called Pashtunwali. You know, if you came in and you intimidated the local populace like this and you beat up a bunch of people, they would hit back. That's how it works there. Americans are just very nice. They're out here protesting. Again, if these guys weren't here, none of these people would be here.
Yeah, Ole, he's saying what you said.
Exactly. He's completely right. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. This is what's happening. They got this huge budget, but yet they're saying they can't afford like basic things like cameras, body cams. They can't afford these things. Like, how to make it make sense? Like, I don't understand. What I'm seeing and what I'm trying to tell people is this is not America. This is not how things are done. There is lawlessness. There's fabrication of facts, and we're just supposed to take it. You cannot be complacent right now because it's going to lead to something so much worse that you cannot stop.
They also violated court orders on body cams in Chicago. Judge Sarah Ellis demanded that in Chicago they wear body cams, and some of them have them and they don't activate them. And Greg Bavino said on the stand that he doesn't wear a body cam, and she asked him to get one, and he still does not do it, and it comes from the top.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask a few questions after I make this point. People keep saying this is not us, but you have to go back to the slave patrols. This has always been us. It just hasn't been done to white people. So let's just be frank about it. And the way that they gloss over it in the news just lets everybody gloss over and whitewash the history. Okay? That's my first point. I do want to ask the lawyers, since we do not want, when these people get comeuppance for what they are doing, is it better to sue the individual people rather than the government? Because we are the ones that are going to have to pay for these people's malfeasance. We should not have to pay that. The people should be sued individually when justice is served. And my other question is...
Wait, hang on. Let him answer the first question. What is it? What's the answer to the first question, Monique?
So, unfortunately, whether it's qualified immunity or whether it's absolute immunity, the only path to suing a police officer in this country, local, state, federal officer, is through the agency or their state employer. That's why one of the things that the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act was fighting for was getting rid of qualified immunity, so that when an officer did something, even under the cover of law, the way this is under the cover of law, where it looks like he's doing it as part of his job, even though it's egregious, so that you could attach individual personal liability. That does not exist. This case is even worse than that, in that there is absolute immunity, meaning whether the officer was acting within the course of his job doing something that was a part of his job, or was acting within the course of his job and doing something that was completely extraneous to the job, the immunity covers those actions, and he cannot be penalized personally. Criminal liability, civil liability, financial liability for the actions. So the only path to sue is through suing the agency.
One more quick question, Jennifer, please. Quick, though.
Yes, and what do we do about wayward lawyers like Blondie and Blanche, who are totally disfiguring our justice system? How do we get back from this? What can we do to get back from this as your legal profession? What are you all going to do?
Right. So there's this thing happening in November called midterms. And that's the first check on the madman's power. Because one of the things that is a reality is that voting has consequences. And so these people are now state actors, and they are acting under the express authority of the President of the United States. They are in appointed positions from which they cannot be fired unless he fires them or unless the will of our do-nothing Congress impeaches them. So somebody like Kristi Noem could be impeached. Somebody like Bondi could be removed. Or perhaps even lose their bar card, but arguably she could still stay in her position as AG, whether she had a license to practice or not, because of the way that our laws are written. So the first and best answer that I can give you is we vote differently. The second answer would be that we push our members of Congress to take action against these individual heads of agency that are failing to do their jobs.
Kristi Noem, you're going to hear from her. You're going to hear from Jennifer Welch as well, right after word from our sponsors. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. A new year doesn't require a new you. Sometimes it just means a less burdened you. Therapy helps you understand what you're carrying and what you already need to let go of, really, and how you want to move forward. For me, it has been about releasing pressure that no longer serves me. BetterHelp connects you with licensed therapists who follow a strict code of conduct. You fill out a short questionnaire and get matched with someone who fits your needs. If it's not the right fit, you can switch at any time. So BetterHelp has over 30,000 therapists and has helped more than 5 million people. Their live sessions average a 4.9 out of 5 rating. That's really good. So you can get 10% off at betterhelp.com/DonLemon. Again, it's 10% off at betterhelp.com/DonLemon. Support comes from Lean. Now, most of us have tried diet after diet. You lose weight, you gain it back, and then you gain a little more. Doctors call this weight cycling, and about half of Americans deal with it. That up and down is exhausting and tough on your body. Lean is a non-prescription, doctor-created oral supplement, not an injection, and the science behind it is solid. Lean supports weight loss in 3 ways. It helps maintain healthy blood sugar, it helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting it into energy. If you want to lose weight at a healthy pace and keep it off, Lean fits into a normal diet and exercise routine. You get 20% off. 20% off with the code LEMON at takelean.com. Again, that's 20% off if you use the code LEMON at takelean.com, TAKELEAN.com. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors. Kristi Noem was mentioned before we heard from our sponsors. Here she is.
Yes. 6 minutes ago, the head of Minnesota State Investigations Agency said that they had been cut out of the investigation into the fatal shooting in Minneapolis. Can you explain that reversal?
I'd like to know where they've been and why they're not out on the streets investigating all of these people that are harassing and inciting violence on law enforcement officers right now. They're allowing the situation
Can we just pause
to be
right
volatile.
now?
They're not.
They got a memo or a call. Monique, you know, right? Because J.D. Vance is saying the same thing that she's saying. And the pundits and the Republicans who go on TV, they're saying the same thing. Why aren't they investigating? And what about the people who are out there causing the crime and ramming their cars in? They are on a script. Keep going.
Doing their work. They haven't for years, and maybe they should get to work a little bit on the unprecedented fraud that we've seen in Minnesota and in Minneapolis by people that stole from American citizens and diverted funds away from vulnerable people and programs and services that they needed and put it into their own pockets. Minnesota is a train wreck. It is corrupt, and it was under the leadership of Governor Walz and this mayor that they allowed it to happen, and they let criminals and illegals and people abuse programs and steal the money, and now they're allowing violence to go forward on the streets as well.
Minneapolis Police Department, county sheriffs, the federal authorities at this point, they don't want.
I won't put a blanket statement out like those other individuals will. What I would say is I welcome them to come and help us. Come help us make sure that the streets are safe, that laws are enforced, and that we can do the right thing to make sure that American citizens come first. Yes, sir. They have not been cut out. They don't have any jurisdiction in this investigation.
Monique, they have no jurisdiction in the investigation?
That's not true. That's not true. I mean, you can at the same time be investigating to determine if there was a violation of state law by a federal actor. And I don't know if she doesn't know that or she just doesn't want to know that, but a US attorney works actively with local police, state police. I mean, that's how they build up their cases normally. So to cut them out this time is with intention. And to leave the FBI in complete responsibility. Now, yes, the federal government swoops in, takes over investigations, does things like that. This isn't the first time that something like that would happen, but this is expressly because the governor said, we don't need you, federal government. I'm doing this. We're going to investigate this as part of the state. And so, of course, then they say, well, no, you're not. We're going to keep you from doing it. So frankly, I would encourage every organization head who's listening right now, especially if you've had any involvement in civil rights and social justice, be filling out your FOIA requests now. Will they comply with them? Likely not, but you should be first in line for however long it takes for them to send whatever they're going to send, because we're going to need as many of those and as many briefs as possible when all of the civil actions are filed. And I'm sure the ACLU is preparing one right now.
Well, Monique, you're going to help me fill out that FOIA. We're going to do that. We're going to have to do a Zoom and fill out the FOIA.
Yes.
Just to show you that they're on the same script. This is Matt Walsh, and this is disgusting. Matt Walsh, who is a MAGA influencer on the right, obviously, says, the lesbian agitator gave her life to protect 68 IQ Somali scammers who couldn't give less of a shit about her. The most disgraceful and humiliating end a person could possibly meet. What kind of a person says some shit like that?
He used to not be quite like that.
Matt Walsh?
No.
I don't know.
I don't remember him being as bad as that.
I don't know. I just figured out who he was like the last couple months. I don't know who he is. Legends. Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, I'm glad he said out loud, because that's what they do. Whatever disenfranchised box they can put you in, whether it's gay or woman or black or immigrant, they're gonna put you in that box because in this country, once they label you, then for those who can easily detach and not care, it becomes easier for them to do. That's why Noam and company are on that script where they call Ms. Good, they call her a domestic terrorist, because once they put that label on you, then it makes it easier for people to not care. Even though this is an American citizen, white woman, mom of 3 children, one as young as 6 years old, once they give you that detachment label and they make you this enemy, not of the state, but of whatever their agenda is, then people stop caring, or they're scared to care, which is even worse. The cowardice is even worse.
Phil Miller. Unmute if you're muted.
Hey, Don, Barbara is from Minnesota. She wants to speak.
Okay, we'll get Barbara. Phil, I already called.
No, Barbara, if she, I will yield to Barbara if she's from Minnesota. I will.
Exactly, but
ahead,
guess what? Like all the stuff that's being said, it's unreal. It's unreal, and I'm in tears right now because a woman is dead. I'm in tears. My heart is broken. She lost her life because of what we're talking about. I'm just done. So I just wanted to say that. So I'm going to back up. And I guess everyone has something to say. But the truth of the matter is that today we are talking about someone dying for what we're talking about. That's some scary shit. And I'm sorry, but I'm emotional about it. And I need to say something about it because that doesn't do anything for her child or for her family or her mother who brought her in this world. We are supposed to love each other. We are supposed to care for each other. We are not supposed to let this happen. And I'm sorry, but I had to say it. It's happening, and I feel helpless. And I want to know what we can do to make this better, because I don't think there's anything we could do for her family, but there's so many people that want to go outside and they want to protest. But does that mean that you're going to die for it? This is scary. Please, please, everyone, look at it. And I'm going to yield back. I'm sorry.
Now, what? Thank you for that, Sandra. And where are you?
Can we hear from Barbara? I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Barbara, go ahead.
Okay, good. Okay, I'm doing this right. Yay. Okay, yeah, no, I'm a Minnesotan, born here, raised here, and I plan to live my entire life here for now. I mean, the winters get a little brutal, so we'll see when I get to be 70, but I just wanted to get on here and say how pissed I am again that here we are now coming up 6 years later and my state is constantly going through these controversial murders that are politicized, and because our governor is who he is and because the president feels about him the way he does, he's declared war on our state. And I'm over it. I'm over the rhetoric. I'm over batting back and forth with even people that I know that I'm related to that want to try and tell me what my lying eyes aren't seeing is really what did not happen, and that woman decided that she put herself in a situation where she deserved to get shot. No, because Ms. Good was me. I see me in her. I'm the single mom of a 12-year-old child whose father passed away in 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I want to do so much on the activism tip. I'm waiting. I live an hour and 20 minutes south from the Twin Cities Metro, but I know exactly where where this happened at. I did a lot of work in the Twin Cities. So even though this happened an hour and 20 minutes away, this is a neighborhood I'm familiar with, as is where Mr. Floyd was killed and other things that happen around the cities. There's not an inch of the metropolitan area that I don't know from top to bottom and side to side. I've driven all those streets. I know the neighborhoods. I know the areas. When I saw this go down yesterday on live, because I watch independent media based in Minnesota, we have a lot of activists, a lot of independent media people that I watch quite frequently. Yeah, it's 2020 all over again. And why? It's difficult.
Barbara, there are several people who share in the same sentiment as you. One of them is Jasmine Crockett. Here it is.
It is so hard to sit here sometimes because I didn't come to Congress to write laws or to do things that are hurting people. I'm just asking if there's any decency or heart or courage on that side of the aisle. The fact that a woman was killed, she was shot in her head, and y'all are pretending like nothing happened. I remember when Charlie Kirk got killed. Do you remember what our response was? Our response wasn't to sit there and pretend like it was okay. Is it okay because you have a badge? Because the last time I checked, allegedly no one is above the law. Can y'all not just have a little bit of courage and humanity? A child. A child has lost her mom. And y'all want to pretend that it is okay. I am asking if there is anyone that will stand for the very people that elected us and sent us to Congress. You tell us things like, well, the immigrants are bad. And so we got to get all these bills because the immigrants are the ones that are causing the harm. They're bringing the crime. The mayor of Minneapolis told y'all to get the fuck out. Yet y'all are the ones, it is this administration that is bringing crime to their streets. That's what's happening.
It's the third incident where somebody has dropped an F-bomb in this committee, including the video.
I'm sorry.
Including the video.
That's what he's upset about.
Are your princess ears okay?
Is it profanity?
The princess ears
House of Representatives.
The committee.
You are about the fact that a woman
Are you soft?
House of Representatives.
The gentlelady. Are we offending your princess ears? Are they that soft?
All members
Well,
will
maybe some of the kids out there.
Mr. Chairman, it is the gentlelady's
You're killing them.
Kids.
It is the
Wow. That's what they get upset about, is someone giving a direct quote of what the mayor said. It's outrageous. Now, I'm going to play this one. Philip Bump is an old friend, an old colleague when he was a contributor on CNN. Very stoic, very put together. And you know him, Monique, you've seen him. He was on MS Now today, and his sentiment was similar to Jasmine Crockett.
I mean, I think all this can be very personal. Look what you did to me, Chris. I have a 6-year-old, and live TV, great. Seeing
by the way, I've met is super cool.
Seeing the image of those stuffed animals in the glove compartment of her car, really emotional for me. And I take away from this is great. What I take away from this is, for me, that's the thing that stands out, that this was a family that could have been like mine. And there are a lot of situations, a lot of incidents that have involved ICE, have involved the government over the course of the past 13 months, in which there is resonance for other families in similar ways. And for me, it's hard to think about that family being affected in this way. And I know that there are lots of other people affected in that way. And I think it's important for us to remember the way in which we respond to these things, because that's the humanity. And that's, I think, fundamental to what America is understanding that all of us can be in these situations and all of us should be able to avoid them, particularly when they're so unnecessary as the shooting yesterday was.
And how do we become part of the solution? A 6-year-old boy has neither a father nor a mother today. Philip Bump, thank you for that, for reminding us all something very important. And we'll be right back.
I played that because Renee said she's very emotional. I'm sure there are people who are very emotional in the chat, and it's because of the legends. It's because you have a heart, and it's because you have empathy and humanity in you.
Me too.
My
tears are flowing. My tears are flowing, Don. And I gotta say that I think we need to really just stand over this thing of trying to whitewash this. This was real. We all saw it. Like, I'm in tears and I can't stop crying, Don. I can't stop crying. This is painful. This woman is dead. Like, her family, her kids, everything, her future, her legacy, everything went down because of what we've been talking about for forever, the rule of law.
So I have a question for the guest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, this woman is, as you said, a perfect victim, right? And I think we need to start understanding that if people are defending this, they will defend the state, and by the state I mean the government, killing anyone. Because if they can look at this clear as day and still say that it was defensible, everyone is in danger. Okay.
Yeah, we're all.
And so my question is that I know you talked about the midterm, but what does it mean now? Because they have decided they're just going to go all in, right? They're talking about being strong men of the world, but what does it mean for our legislative and our judicial bodies that in between now and the midterms, the law is whatever they say it is? They are no longer, I mean, people are online literally saying, oh, you're not allowed to drive away from someone, so therefore it means that you should get shot. And I hope, Don, that you ask the next law enforcement people about how those original ICE agents approached her. Because as far as I know, they're not allowed to do traffic stops. But if they do, you don't approach a car saying, get the fuck out. Okay. So
Monique,
my
did you have?
question though is yeah. So what do we do between now and then when there are no laws that they will follow?
It doesn't matter. They don't care.
Yeah, but Monique, each time it gets worse. That's just piggybacking off of what Jen said. If you let them get away with this and there's not enough outrage and there's not some repercussion or something, then the next thing will get worse. If you notice, it got worse. It gets worse over time with this administration. I've been saying this since the beginning. I think they are surprised that they have been allowed to get away with so much, and every time they get away with something, they come back and they do something worse. And then they get away with that, and they come back and they do something worse. I don't know what's worse than one person dying. Maybe it'll be somebody else. I'm just saying, if this is not stopped now and there isn't enough outrage and there isn't something that prevents them from doing this, the next thing is going to be significantly worse.
Well, I don't think that police misconduct is a new thing at all. And that's why some of your legends are talking about 6 years ago and us losing George. And I'm very close to the Floyd family. Shout out to PJ, to Keita, to all the family, and officers not being trained and being on the job is not new. People being targeted and being abused and assaulted by officers on the job, not new. Federal agents doing things they have no business doing, being in jurisdictions where they don't have any authority and exercising authority they don't have, not new. People dying because of it, being killed through officer-involved shootings, not new. It being ICE, sure, but it's just an extension of what has been happening in this country. I refuse to make ICE an isolated thing. I believe that this country has been acting with impunity with respect to the way law officers are allowed to get away with murder, even when it's been proven to be murder. And that's what this administration has been doing. Like the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice doesn't even exist anymore. They have pulled out of cases that they were once prosecuting. So my thought is, this is horribly sad. And I was horribly sad when it was George, and I was horribly sad when it was Sandra, and I was horribly sad when it was Ahmaud, and I was horribly sad each and every time. When it was Terrence Crutcher, it was horribly, horribly sad. And so will we be something other than sad, where we start passing laws? Let's see. If the will of the people will put members of Congress in charge in order to change the laws so that officers cannot do this. Some of the people who were crying, not on this screen, but some of the people who were crying would not vote for the Black lady, Don.
Yeah.
And for real, that's why we're here. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. Anybody who says anything to me about the fact that we're here for any reason other than they put this madman in charge, you missed the boat. And so voting does have consequences. And I do not have a lot of tears for the people who have tears, unless the ones that are on camera crying now were crying for the 20 people I can name who have already died when corporations and when rich people threw money at it and said they read the books that would help them to understand it. And then when it was time for us to do something about it, same as everything else, no, somehow racism and sexism won the day again. And we ended up with this president, and he's walking out Project 2025, and they're 50% done. So
and not to mention that he is a criminal himself.
And nobody cared. Nobody cared.
Quick, this is a lightning round, guys, because we have to go. Lori King, quick.
I know, but the thing is this is a continuation, but it is an acceleration, because Trump is not, we are seeing with our own eyes, and they're still telling us. At least in the past, if we saw it, there was at least something. Between now and the midterms, like, we have to figure out something. It's imperative to our democracy.
We have to at least remember this, to your point, is that the officer who killed George Floyd is in prison right now. Go ahead, Lori King. And then nothing, and this, they don't even want to investigate this one. Lori, quick, please. You got, I'll give you a couple seconds. All right.
So I've been watching a lot of the hearings and the committee meetings. I saw Jasmine Crockett's speech made me cry when she was saying it. But what really upsets me is every Democrat is saying, you know, when Charlie Kirk died, they were up in arms. They were, you know, making sure that that person who did it won't do, you know, will get the full extent of the law. But then you have a person that outright in one of the committee meetings, Rep. McClicktock, who basically described the whole event, saying she prevented that. You know, it was just like while watching the video. I think he was doing this, and he's like totally, really not even saying the facts right. And that's the thing that really gets me, is that even now, you know, that these reps are not doing their jobs. They have no empathy at all. And that's what, you know, we need to change is,
well, that's what
every of these states, let's vote them out.
Well, that's what Monique is saying. That's what 2026 is going to be about. Peggy, what did you want to say?
Oh, this is so upsetting for me. I'm getting triggered by this because in the 60s, I lived in Chicago and there was a lot of political unrest there. And I was driving one night with a friend of mine who was a black man who was a friend of mine, and we got pulled over. I was driving the car. We got pulled over by a white cop, and he dragged us out of the car and he threw me to the ground because how dare I be with a black man in my car? And so I'm just getting so triggered. And nobody's talking about over the past 50 years, young black boys, men have been walking down the sidewalk and they've been thrown to the ground and beaten up for no reason. I mean, I know this sounds awful, and it has accelerated, but why is it that when a white woman gets killed, everybody's up in arms? And for the past 50 years, you know, it's been happening to black people all along.
That part.
Anyway, this is a really sad day. I'm really sad, but I have some happy news to share, and I feel guilty for even sharing it, but I have to. My book just came out on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and it's called Wolves in the Closet, and it's about healing from trauma, alcoholism, and sexual abuse. And I just want to mention it because I am happy about it, and we have to find some joy. And I've been sober 39 years, and I drank every day for 25 years. And so I know about addiction and recovery. And I'm surprised that I even have any brain cells left to write this book because of all the drinking I did.
You better do it, Peggy.
And I just want to say one thing, even though it's about a really dark subject, there's so many laugh out loud moments in this book, and I want you guys to all buy it because we need to laugh. And if we can't laugh, we're dead, you know? And I just had to say how I feel about this. And thank you for letting me share.
It's called Wolves in the Closet, My Improbable Transformation, Healing from Trauma, Alcoholism, and Incest. Is that correct? You can get it?
Yeah, how did you know that, Dawn?
Because I'm on Amazon buying it right now. That's why. So it's on Amazon. I'll tell everyone it is this is the Kindle version, which I'll get because I like to read online, or I'll get the audio if there is one. And it's a good price. The Kindle is $9.99. I still have a Kindle, by the way. So
me too. Thank you
so
much.
Listen, everyone did not get a chance to speak, and I'm sorry, but today will be an exception. We're going to see you all next time, okay? So thank you, legends. I'm sorry everybody didn't get a chance to speak, but this is an enlightening conversation. Peggy, congratulations. Barbara, you know, you take care there in Minnesota, and Renee, we're all with you. All of the folks who are emotional, we're emotional as well. Check out what I said on social media. I know May Money's going crazy. She's been talking. I know. Peace. May Money, is so good to see you on New Year's Eve. You are beautiful, gorgeous. And we'll talk soon,
Oh,
okay?
thank you, Don. We will talk next time. I know you got to go, but thank you guys so much.
Thank
Stay
you.
strong. I got a lot to say,
Wait,
but
money,
I'll
reach
tap in
out.
with y'all next time because I ain't going nowhere. Y'all already know that.
That's
We
right.
love you. I love
That's
each of you.
right.
Thank you. And thanks to Monique. We appreciate it. If you'd like to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, you have to just go to donlemon.com. Thank you, Monique. We'll see you soon. Go to donlemon.com. And you can find out anything you need to know about the show. Our merch store is there where you can find us. Become a member. Support us. Become a subscriber. Subscriptions are free. Thank you, Defiant Brandon. Peggy, I'm going to buy your book today. I'm also going to buy Scott Jennings' book. I'm going to donate to a Somalian charity. Then I'm going to vote GOP. Okay. Or maybe it's GOP out. I have no idea. He just said vote GOP. So there we go. MAGA Magnificent Lies says, if you're looking for something concrete to do, write your senators, ask specific questions about investigations, put all senators on notice. We will document any shortcomings in the National Archives, FAFO, with constituents. We will make our way into National Archives. And thank you for your very generous support of the Don Lemon Show. Okay, guys. The merch store is in there as well. You can get us on Substack. You can get us on Twitch. You can get us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of it. Substack, I think I said, and of course on YouTube. And then there's our merch store. Okay, so go check it out. We have some great things on there. We're going to update it soon. We're trying to add an apron because I love to cook, and some baby stuff for you. Okay, because people have been requesting that. All right. So be informed without being inundated until I see you back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time on the Don Lemon Show and the Don Lemon channel. Take a deep breath, gather yourselves, and turn the TV off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.